Code Snippets channel. So in today's video we'll be looking at doing CRUD, CRUD with Go and Firebase Firestore. So before we get into the video, I would like to mention something. So first of all, if you are new to the channel and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, and this is the first time you are watching a video on the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And after watching the video, if you like the content of the video, give a thumbs up and also hit the notification bell and activate it for all notifications. And if you're not into the channel, you'll be watching videos on the channel, but for some reason you haven't subscribed, I really appreciate it if you consider subscribing, because a lot of people that are watching videos on this channel are not subscribed based on the channel statistics. So I really appreciate it if you can help me grow the channel. So that's it. So before we go into the code, the first things we need to know is prerequisites before you write any code. So the prerequisites basically is you need a Firebase project. So you can come to this site here, this URL, console.firebase.google.com. So you create a project. It's pretty straightforward, so you can check that out. Maybe you can watch another video on how to do that. It is pretty straightforward. And after that, you come into your project. You have your project set up. Come into your project. Then the next thing you want to go is come to this settings icon. Then you go to project settings, and then you click service account. And when you click service account, so you have to create a service account. We already have one created already. So what I just simply do is just come down here and generate new private key. So it's going to download the JSON file for you. So you need that JSON file because that JSON file is basically your window to connect into Firebase. And also, before I move on, I also like to mention that I actually made a video on using Firebase storage with Go. So if you also want to check that out, I'll drop the link to that video in this video's description. So once you generate the private key, so if you come to this place, they've shown like 4 different languages, how to connect with 4 different languages to Firebase. So if you come to Go here, so this particular code is how to connect with this private key that generated, which is this service account key.json file. So when you click this, it will be downloaded for you. But I've already downloaded it, so I won't download it anymore. So that's the first thing. Then the next thing you need to do is basically come to build, then you come to Firestore database. So when you get here, basically you need to create a collection. So I've just created a collection. So when you create a collection, they ask you to add an initial document. Then in that document, they ask you to add an initial field. So I just did all that. So you can just simply create a collection, press start collection. So ask you, like if I press start collection now, it will ask me to enter the name of the collection. When I enter it, I'll press next. It will ask me for the name of the document. Then I'll press next. Then it will ask me to add a field. So I've added a field. So this field here, the type is a map. So what this is, we'll see later when we get into the code. But basically, that's what you need to do. The initial field you'll be creating might not be a map if you don't want it to. But I just like to create a map, so it can be a string. So there are different fields that I can create. If I add field now, if I press add field, so I can create a string type field, a number, a boolean, a map, an array, a null type, a timestamp, and a geopoint. So I decided to create a map just for the sake of this video. But those are the things that you need to do. So you have to create a collection first. Then for each collection, as create the collection, you have to create the documents, and you have to add at least one field to the document. These are just the 2 prerequisites that you need. So with that being said, I just simply come back to my project settings, and I'll reference the code we saw initially on how to connect to Firebase with Go, which is in my service account. So which is basically this code here. So this code here is what we'll be using to connect to Firebase, and that is what we have here. So basically, I'm just creating a client option with the service account key. So when I click the generate ID, this is what it gives me. So I'll just move it into my project folder, which is basically what is here. And I'll import the necessary imports, which are this and this. So I'll create a client option, then I'll call the function new app on Firebase. So this new app takes into argument a context and a config. three parameters, rather, a context, a config, and a client option. So I'm just passing in this context, the background, then the config, I'm passing in then the client option is this option I created with my service account key, which is my private key. So this I want to open it because it's meant to be private. So if you're working with service account key, always make sure that you don't push it to a public repository, or you keep it safe such that no one else will see it, unless people that you authorize that you want to see it, because it's private. If anyone has it, the person automatically has access to your Firebase account. So you always want to keep that private. So after that, the next thing we'll call the method Firestore on this app. So Firestore takes in just one thing. So it takes in the context and returns the Firestore client and an error. So that's what we have here. So I'm just checking for the error. If there's an error, I'm handling it. So I'm just log fataling the error. So basically, this is lazy error handling. Most times, if you are working on a real life project, you always want to return the error, or you always want to like do a better error handling. But I'm just lazy to just do that, so I'm just fataling the error. And basically, if you also think about it, if you can't connect to Firestore, if you can't get to Firestore client, there's nothing we can do really. So, log fatal is actually a good way to actually do this at this point. So after I get my client, then on my client I'll call this method collection to get my collection ref. So what this method collection is just reference to the collection I created, which is go code snippets. So if I come back to build, then Firestore database, this part is the name of the collection, which is this collection I have here, which is go code snippets. So this will return for me so return me a collection ref, Firestore collection ref. So I'm just calling that call ref. Then on this Firestore collection ref, I'm calling the method doc. So method doc also takes in an ID, which is the ID of the document I want to reference, and it returns me a document ref. So the ID of the document I want to reference is basically this ID here, this document ID, which is users. So that is basically what I have here. Then with that, once we have this, we can start performing our code, which is create, read, update, and delete. So to create values, let me just uncomment this out. So I've actually written all the code and I commented left them out. So we can just go through each of them. So I'll comment this out, comment this back, comment this back. Yeah. And the same, there are some imports that I'm not using. So font, UID, I think that is all. I also need Firestore. Also this. Now to create value, you use the method set on this your document thread. So because the method set takes in three arguments: the context, the data you want to put in, and also an option, which is basically Firebase set option. So the context is just this. The data I want to put in is a map of string to string. So this string there, this key here is basically going to be the ID. When I insert, it's going to be like one key to one value. Out I'm there. I'm calling it the map of string to string, and the key, which is basically going to be a random generated UID. Then I want to pick just the first 6 characters of the ID because I don't want the whole ID. This particular method here gives me a long, very long ID, and I don't want to use it. So I'm just taking just the first 6 characters, and the value I'm setting to that key is just this some value. And I'll call Firestore major. So this is very, very important. If you don't call Firestore major, what you just do is that whenever you call set and you don't call Firestore major, for example, it will just replace whatever document is there before to replace it. So, but you will want to replace, you want to actually create a new document. So you really need to actually add this Firestore major. So it is saying basically in my current document, I want to retain all the documents that are there, and I want to match this incoming documents with everything that is there before. Because if you don't call Firestore major, it just simply overwrite whatever is there before. So this is very important. So I'll check for the error if there's an error, and if there's no error, I can just simply print successfully created record. So let me just comment this out. This one is composite data, something more complex. So I'll run the code. So before I run the code, if you check my document, I have just only one document, which is what I created when I created this collection. So if I run this code and everything goes on fine, so it says successfully created record. So if I come here and I have recorded, so this is the ID, which is the 6 characters I generated from the random UID, and the value is some value, which is basically this value that is here. So that's it. So let's look at a more composite value like a struct. So to use a struct, so basically I'm just like creating a, I'll comment this out first. So up here I define them a type user struct. So it will have two fields, the first name and the last name. So this struct tag here, Firestore struct tag, means the way you want the data to be represented in Firebase. So I can use this Firestore first name, Firestore last name. So that means when it converts into a Firestore document, the field will be first name, lowercase f and lowercase l instead of capital F and capital L. So this is the way you can actually tell go to marshal your document when it is converting into a Firestore document. So that is basically it. So the document I want to add now is just a map of string to a user. So the field is going to be a randomly generated UID also, and I'm picking the first 6 characters. Then the value will be a user. The first name will be Keanu and the last name will be Reeves. Then from there we'll call document ref set in context to do then the user, which is basically this data here, the data which is basically this user rather. Then Firestore module again to say okay, I want to return the document I have before, then add this to the document. So let's run the code and see what we get. My network is really slow for some reason. So it says successfully created document. So that is done. So if we come to this place now, we have a document here. So if you look, document we're having here now, the type is a what? A map. So basically, once you are if you are saving a particular data into Firebase and it's of a struct type, to convert it to a map. So if you read the documentation for the Firebase package in Go, I think this is it here. So if you go, let me do type document ref to get all the methods in it. Type document ref. Am I spelling something? Oh, it's meant to be Firestore, not Firebase. Type document ref. Yeah, so this is type document ref here. So this is type document ref here. So this is function set. So function set here, it says this is not what I'm looking for. It shouldn't be in set. Maybe it is in create. So set is another way of creating, but set just actually just adds documents to what is there before. Okay, it's in create is what I'm looking for. So it says bool converts to bool. So Golang bool will convert to Firestore bool. Then string will convert to string. Then all these integer types will convert to integer. Then all this will convert to. That's what it's just basically telling you. Then slices will convert to array. Then maps will convert to map. Then I think struct will also convert to map. So you can just read this out and see how it happens. So struct fields can also have tags like using the encoding JSON package, and this tag will be using is Firestore, so we're using in our code here. The Firestore tag. Yes. So which is basically this that we're using in our code. So that is it. You can just read the documentation to understand more in depth how this particular method set works. So to just convert the struct to a map and the field to basically be what we set into this struct tag Firestore here. So that is it for it. That's all about creating. So the next thing we'll be looking at now is getting documents. That's the next thing we'll be looking at. So to get documents, so I just comment to this house. Let me comment this out. Commenting this out. So to get documents, let's just first run this first one. So to get documents, we need to actually use the method get on our document ref, and this one takes in just one argument, which is the context. So I'm just passing the context to do. Then it's going to give us two values, document snapshot and an error. So I'm getting the snapshot and an error. So I'm just handling the error, it is an error. Then on this document snapshot, you can call the method data. So this method data returns a map of string to empty interface, which is basically the data inside the particular document we are referencing. So I'm just ranging over all the data and I'm printing out each data. So let me comment this out first. Then we can have this. Oh, comment this out. I don't need this. I also don't need this. So I run the code. So these are all the documents we have. Oh, let me do \n so to break the line after each iteration. These are the documents we have. We have user one, which is the document I created initially, and I have this, which was the document I created, then this one I created afterwards. So those are the three data inside the document. That's basically it. So if you want to get one particular data that you don't want to get like the whole thing, you can use the method data at. So which is what I have here. So I'll just comment this out back. Then I can say I want the data as, then you pass in a reference. So the reference I'm passing in basically is just the field or the key to the document. That's basically it. So I'm passing in user one. So it's going to give me James Bond, which is basically this here. So I can just simply get the data at user one. Then I'll handle the error. Then I'll just print out the data if there's no error. So I'll run it. So that is the data, which is basically this. This is how to get our data. Then the next thing we want to look at now is updating. So to update a particular document, this is how to do it. So give me a second. I'm trying to look at where I can start from here. I think this is it. So to update a particular to update documents in to update fields rather in a document, we call the method update on the document ref. So this one takes in. I need to pause this back. So this one it takes in three arguments. The first one is a context, second one is, so it takes in three arguments. First one is a context, second one is a slice of Firestore updates, then the third one is a precon, which is a variadic parameter of Firestore precondition. So this one here, we just ignore this one. So the only ones we'll be using are these first two arguments, which is a context and a slice of Firestore updates. So the first one I want to be using now is the context. I'll just pass in context to that as the context. And the second argument is slice of Firestore update. So this type Firestore update, if I hover on it, it's actually a struct with three values, with three fields. We have a path, and we have a field path, and we have a value. So this path and field path are basically the same thing. But the only difference is that this path is actually used when you want to update something that is just like a key value page, just like this particular field that we have here, which is a key value page, just a key and a value. Then if you want to use field path, then field path is used to update something that, so field path is used to update a particular field that is more composite, like structs that we saved, like a map type that we saved, which is basically this two here. So if you want to update any value, like say you want to update the first name here or the last name here, you have to use something more composite like field path. But if you want to just update only just something that's just a key value pair, then you use path. So let's see how we do that. So the first one is I'm calling a update type. So the path I'm setting is I want to update this particular field here. So like I said, if you want to update just a key value pair, use path. And if you want to update something that is more complex, you use field path. So I'll just update this path here, and I'll change the value to another value instead of some value. Then the second one, I want to update the first name of this particular one here. So I can just copy this field here, and I'll add it to this place. So this slice of string basically, because if you look, field path is actually a type field path. So if I check what that field path is, go doc, let's see, I think it's Firestore field path. Let's see what that is. So field path is actually a slice of string. So I'm just passing a slice of string here, and each value in this slice is basically a reference, like from the top level to the bottom level. So this here means that I'm going from this ID, and I want to actually update the field first name. So if this first name is also like a map, for example, it's going to be this ID then first name. I'm going to add another argument to this slice of string, which is going to be like the next field I want to update. So that is basically it. But since it's only just a field, then the value is directly under this, like the first name. So I'll just basically add those two. That is all. Then, oh sorry, I meant to copy this. It's a wrong field. Let's put this. What is happening? Copy this. Let's hope it copies. So that is it. So I want to update the first name. I want to change this to Joseph. Then I can also do one more for, just for you to get it. I can do one more for user one. So user one is basically the ID, and I want to update the last name. So I'll call this one last name. And the value I want to update the last name is, I want to change it to Jason. James rather. I want to change it to James Reed. I just some random name that came to my head, so I don't really know the name to give this. But this is basically the way you update. So I'll just check for the error. So this one returns two values. It returns a right result and an error. So I'm not showing you the right result. I don't really need it. I'll check for the error if there's no error. If there's no error, I'll just simply print successfully, update successful rather. So I'll clear out this and I'll run the code. So just take note of what we add for the code updates. The ones updates, everything changes. So this one is now under value. The next one is Joseph Reeves instead of Keanu Reeves. Then this one is James Reed instead of James Bond. So that is basically how you update documents in Firestore using Go. And the last one we'll be looking at now is deleting. So this deleting, for some reason, I was going through documentation and there was no way you could delete a document directly. Maybe because I've not scrutinized it enough. But based on what I've seen so far, the only thing you can do is basically just delete the old document. So you can't delete a particular field, you can only delete the old document, which is this document users here. So if I call this delete method, it's going to delete this old document for me, which is document user. So to call that, you just actually just call the method delete on documents. What is this saying? Okay, I think it should be this. What is the error about? Oh, sorry, I've seen what the error is. I didn't comment this out. I was discussing the error. So I just call the method delete and it takes in one argument, which is two arguments rather, context and also a precond, which is a very parameter of Firestore preconditions. So we'll just throw this away. I know using this, we just only use this context. So I'll just pass in context background, and that's basically it. I'll check for the error if there's an error. If there's no error, I'll just print successfully deleted the document. So I've deleted the old documents that way. So I'll just run this, then we'll just come to our Firestore and wait for the code to run. Then once the code runs, this just gets deleted. Let's wait for it if it is successful to be deleted. Let me check my code. Imported and not used. I have an error. So I'll just comment this out. Now I'll run the code. So just wait for it to run. Then once it runs, this gets deleted. Unless there's an error. There's no error. What's this happening? What's taking this so long? It has to be my network. I'm really sorry for the lag in network. But okay, it has finally worked. So it says successfully deleted documents. If I come here now, it should have deleted the document user, so it has deleted it, so there's no document. So if I just refresh the page, it will also, I think, should also delete this collection since there's no documents that this collection is holding. So the whole thing will just be blank. If I refresh the page, let me just refresh and see. My network is really slow for some reason today. I'm really sorry for this, guys. Just please bear with me. So that is, the collection is also deleted because it's not holding any document. So that's basically how you do CRUD with Firebase and Go. So that's basically the code. So if there's anything you don't understand in the code, you can just go through it again. And if there's anything that you still don't understand, you can drop it in the comment section below. So I'll be really enthusiastic to reply you. And also one more thing before I end the video, if you have not subscribed to the video yet, please subscribe and also hit the like button if you like the content of the video. And also, if once you subscribe, also put on notification bell and put it to all notifications. So once I release any new video, you'll be the first to be notified. So that is basically it for this video. And with that, I'll be ending the video. Cheers.